when you talk about tax, I like to make it simple. I'm simple-minded. Like anything is too complicated, I get overwhelmed. So when I was taking tax classes in college, it's like, oh my goodness, it's just too many details. I at that time I haven't wanted to quit accounting major. No wonder one-third of accounting major quit the first class. So tax planning is very simple. Thinking this way. If I am in the earning age right now and I needed to pay tax, okay, the bottom line, every penny saved is every penny earned. Let me find ways to save this tax for now. Okay, if I need to pay tax now immediately, don't pay it. Find ways to not pay it. And there are only 3 strategies for tax saving. You think you can learn 3 strategies? Right? So, and then let me put into something and it to grow in the future. And ideally, at that time, when I need to take money out, I don't have to pay tax either. Okay, if I need to pay tax, I find another way to not pay tax at that time. Or I can plan, earlier so that I don't have to pay tax at that time. Okay, so that's very simple. So basically, you want to save the tax right now, and then for a long-term strategy in the future, find ways not to pay tax. Okay, so that's the process. So when you listen today, I want you to ask yourself, are you overpaying taxes? And my experience, all my clients, when they come to me, they're always overpaying taxes. And then you ask, emotionally, what kind of taxpayer are you? Now, most people are anxious, fearful, okay? So after this training, I want you to transform your being, your relationship with tax. Instead of looking at the tax as a stress, you look at it as a friend. You make friend to the tax law and then use these laws to plan your life, your retirement, your business. So you become a strategic taxpayer. You can think strategically, and you also have full control. Okay, you master your life, and you have peace of mind. Okay, so that's the result I want you to have after this seminar. And then what strategy can you use this year? Okay, you can think about some strategy that you can use immediately to save tax. So I always like to go to the fundamentals. So let's just read through this as a game. In the beginning, it's difficult. You may fail several times. Once learned, you will never forget. In the beginning, it's easier on flat road. Once skilled, it's more interesting and challenging on slopes. What are you getting? It's nonsense, right? It's random sentences. And that's how sometimes your tax return looks like. And that's why you invited audit. And I'm saying invited. And I'm going to assert all audits are invited because your tax return makes no sense. Okay. You live in Irvine. Your mortgage is $5,000 and your tax return says, you have this loss and that loss and it's only $50,000 income. So how do you pay a tax? Your mortgage, right? You invited. Okay. Now let's read. But in the beginning, it's difficult. You may fail several times. Once learned, you will never forget. In the beginning, it's easier on flat road. Once skilled, it's more interesting and challenging on slope. Now what do you see? It starts to make sense, right? Okay, you're talking about bike. So your story is important. Okay, so your tax, the number one secret of tax planning is your story. Even in the case of audit, can you tell your story that makes sense? And who's the author of the story? Right? It's your story. You are the author. So I want you to get that first. I want to empower you. You have the power. Okay? Whether you get audited or not, or even if you get audited, whether you will prevail or not, it's about your story. How you tell your story. Does your story make sense? Whenever you plan your strategy, you pick a strategy. Okay? What story are you going to articulate? In the rare case of being audited, what story are you going to tell? Yeah, that's your story. And then also I want to say is that your context is important. So there's an example of a context. So this is called modern monetary theory. So America had the First World War due to recession, and then we had a Second World War, and then after that, Mr. Keynes says instead of having wars, let's issue money, and let's stimulate the economy with currency. So that become a great magic. So we used that during, in my memory, right, 2000 tech bubble. We stimulated the economy by issuing money. 2006, 2008 financial crisis, used the same way. 2020 pandemic, we issue money. So as far as I know, both parties agree on that. And even the academic world and the Fed all agree this is good policy. So we are in the no return zone. We will continue to do that. Okay. So in the long run, it's always low interest, high inflation. Okay. The inflation will always be there. So inside that context, what you want to do is what? You want to borrow as much as you can. So in terms of your tax planning, you want to make sure you have enough income to show to borrow money, right? And then still, save tax. And now the question becomes, how can I show income, but also pay less tax? And then you find ways like, depreciation, one-time write-off, these stories, you can add them back, right? When you buy properties, when you get a loan, charitable donations, like, okay, the reason my income is low because I put $100,000 into my private foundation last year. Add it back. Okay, you fight with the lender. If they don't work with you, go find the next one. Okay, so that's how you play. So the context is important. You want to win in this context where your water, the sea level is rising all the time, and you want to build the ships so that your assets grow. Okay,